Well, hello folks. Purpose of this video today is to try to show you a little bit of tree trimming. I mentioned in a previous video that I wasn't going to do hardly anything with annuals for fall, but given that it's a lot warmer than it typically is this time of the year and a lot drier, I think that's going to increase the amount of time that I have to actually do something for fall. So I probably will plant a few. I know one thing on the agenda for sure is Claytonia, miner's lettuce. Eager to see how that's going to work in this environment. So before I get to the tree trimming, I wanted to give like a little bit of a, I guess you could call it an update of, kind of what's been going on here in the fall activities, some changes in the crops. I'll just show them real quick. So what you're looking at down here is curry. Now, I don't remember the genus and species, but if you go to a, I want to say the genus is Murray, or anyway, I'll put it in the description or I'll annotate the video. But if you go to a nursery and say you want curry, they'll probably give you the wrong plant. It won't be this, but this is what you use in Indian cuisine. And so you got some more curry starts here. And some more curry starts. And more curry starts. And more. And some possum came along and knocked my plants over. Possum or something. So we got more curry plants. These are about a year old or so. And then of course you got the more mature ones here that you've seen before. So let me take you to my pot garden. Show you some stuff I did over there. Okay. Let's see here. So I've showed this on my backline video. This is aloe vera. And I told you that it had a bunch of pups. And I pupped them off and have potted them up. I don't remember how many here. There's approximately 10 or so here. Okay. And I don't know what gets in here, but something likes to knock my pots over. Now you'll notice that these don't look very good. They're just like stems with no leaves. What they are is passion flower that I've dug up and potted up so I can propagate them. And I've got more than I actually need. But this is why there's no leaves on them. The Gulf fritillary butterfly caterpillar. So I got some goji berries here in some pots that are producing. This time of the year the goji berry produce, I'll take you to the parent plants and show you those, how they changed with a little bit of cooler temperatures and a little bit of rain. We are still officially in a drought. It's still extremely dry. And I'm going to cut in a video that I made. I was going to do as a short, but I'm going to cut it in right about here just to show you what our fall conditions are right now in this area. I mean, it's like one day before fall and it's a freaking 100 degrees and hasn't rained for 17 days. Oh, the joys of farming in Texas. Okay, so we got potatoes coming up. They're just now starting to come up. I have potatoes all over this yard, probably hundreds of them I've put in the ground. So what happens is we go to the store, we buy a bag of organic potatoes. It's one way to make sure you're not getting a GMO product. And if we don't eat them all, we just chunk them outside. Just throw them anywhere we can. They don't always survive. They almost always survive the initial planting, but they won't necessarily come back the next season. But many of them do. I do have a garden pest that actually goes after these, and I will actually put her on film. Probably cut it in right about at this point in the video. Here she is. Look at her. Just look at her. She has no shame at all, does she? No, none. She just goes right after it. She's an elderly dog, and we switched her diet, and part of that diet we give her cooked potatoes. And now when she comes in the yard, she uses that incredible beagle nose to get herself some potatoes out of my garden. So we have to really watch her when we come out here, because she's just a little goober. But yeah, she just goes right after them, and that's the only difficulty I have with these. I don't water them. I use them. I plant them around the edges of garden beds to try to help reduce the effectiveness of grass getting into the garden bed. But largely, I just don't like wasting things, so I throw them in the ground. It's kind of like a hidden emergency food source that I don't have to maintain. So let's see. Some more changes. So we got a decent amount of rain for about a week, and then we haven't had any it's been 18 days. So I haven't watered anything for 18 days, but I'm now gonna have to start the supplemental watering again. However, not nearly on the scale that I was before. The only things that are really suffering are these ground cherries. And I grew them for the first time this year, and I would not advise growing them in a permaculture situation in the cross timbers. They just take more water than tomatoes and produce less. So I wouldn't, I think I'm gonna stick with tomatoes. So what you see here, this big green bush, is all goji berry. And I mentioned in my backline garden video that I've been trying to kill it, and it's nigh unkillable. So if you take a look, it's spreading, it's getting much bigger, and it's producing berries. You know, I don't like it because I don't really especially like the taste, and the berries are not super easy to harvest. So, but it grows well here and spreads. And another little change is my passion flowers. They're going through major changes. I mean, look at this guy, miserable. Haven't watered it. But the whole vine is shriveling, and I think it's because it's being attacked by so many. There are just ridiculous amounts of caterpillars in there. And I'm okay with that. I'm going to let it happen. I'm going to let nature take its course. I got a feeling, due to the way native plants grow here, that it's not really going to matter to this plant. Because native plants in this area, it's really all about the roots. So this plant's root base is enormous. It's at least, if not more, it's at least 20 feet in diameter. And it has sent up shoots all over the yard. I'm just standing in them. You see, they're just all over the place. I mean, it's crazy. Now here's another one. All really the same plant. So I'm not worried about the plant dying. It's just that one green part that may die back. So gonna let nature take its course. We'll see what happens. Just check this out. That is just, look at, I don't know if it's coming out, a shadow, get some light in there. Look at all those caterpillars. That is just a ridiculous amount of caterpillars. They're pretty though. Okay. I think it's all the major changes I'll show for now. You see the Malabar spinach is going nuts. Drought tolerant, doesn't take a lot of water, doesn't take up a lot of space. Delicious, way better in my opinion than regular spinach. So definitely worth growing. And here is the tree in question. This mountain cedar, ash, juniper right here. This is a female tree. But the reason why I'm actually trimming her, I typically leave my female ash junipers alone, are these power lines. So I'll try to get a shot without the sun in the camera. But if you take a look, I want to make sure that there are no limbs on the back side of the tree growing this way into the power lines, creating a maintenance nightmare for me. So that's one thing I'll definitely do. And I got, you can see it, this little branch right here. It's kind of heading in that direction. So I may remove that branch, or I may leave it for a while. Because if you look here, there's a larger branch and it's all brown and dead. Let's take a look here. Okay, try to get a good angle on it for you guys to see this. Because I won't be able to take you up the tree with me. I need both my hands free. So I'll probably climb up, cut a little, climb down, and show you as I go. But you see it right there, this branch. It's pretty much all dead. Got a lot of foliage and just died off. And then you see this large branch coming up here. All its foliage has died off. And the tree is putting all of its energy really into the top. So that's mainly what I'm going to concentrate on today. probably the reason why this died off over here is that the tree was getting more solar radiation in here and on this branch, this right here. And as a result, just decided it isn't worth putting energy into growing this side. Just leave this alive. So I should have probably got on it sooner and trimmed this top out, and that probably would have kept that alive. But no use crying. But once I cut it, it probably will bud back, and I'll get some foliage back. I'm probably going to shorten the tree. I'm probably going to remove about, probably down to there. I'm actually trying to shorten all of these trees. They grow pretty slow to get me ready for old age and retirement. So that way I don't have to be, 20, 30 feet up in the air and fall and break my hip. So I'll only be 10 feet in the air and break my hip. So that's always good, right? So yeah, I'll bring you guys along. I'll have to climb down my ladder and I'll show you the progress as I trim it. And what it is, it's the tree right in front of this tomato bed. Now you can see its shadow right now, right? So as the sun tracks across the sky, it gives a little bit of relief, probably for around an hour, 30 minutes to an hour of all these plants as the day goes on during the hottest part of the day. So I do want to leave her there, but I have to manage the limbs, and I can't let them get too big for too much shade, and so that's what we have going on here. Alrighty then, so I'm about to climb up there, and before I do, I just want to show you the tools of the trade. An extension ladder, okay, and let's see here, a pair of loppers. You can't see here, this safety goggles or glasses, a pruning saw or some kind of saw, optionally, work gloves, and probably one of the most important things, a nice cowboy hat. And there's two purposes, really, practical purposes for the cowboy hat. It keeps all the debris and stuff out of your hair, so when you go in your house, your family doesn't try to, kick you right back out of the house because you're filthy. And the other purpose is to look like a sheer badass while you're doing this. Okay, so I've finished the first stage, which is to cut the dead and dying stuff. I'm trying to keep my neighbor's yard cropped out of the shot, but I wanted to show you. That's one, that's two. And what I wanted to show you was, you see I left a little nub here, right? See that? That is for a foothold. If you look at all of my trees, you see that this little dead log here we use as a trellis. You see all the little footholds, or I should call them just stumps or whatever. But I leave a little bit there, and I gave it away. I use it as a foothold. And almost all my trees have them. At least all the ones I've worked on. You see this big guy here, right there. I don't know if it's coming out, you can see it, but you see lots of half-cut limbs. Multiple reasons. You don't want to cut too much foliage too fast, but also leaving them as footholds, because my ladder doesn't necessarily go to the tops of all these trees. So I basically have to cut my own ladders in. All right, so, and this is the top of the tree, and I wanted to show you what I was planning on doing. So you can see there's this big log here coming up and going up like this. That whole log is pretty much going to be removed, because at the base I have this little collection of limbs that I can leave, and that reduces about 4 feet out of the canopy. And then I have this log here that goes up and out. I'll probably leave most of it, but I'm gonna deadhead that tip. I hope the sun isn't bleaching it out. But this tip right here, I'm gonna deadhead it, so that should cause some bud back. Okay. All right. Okay, I have cut the two main top parts of the canopy out. You can see right here, that's one. And let's get through here. That's two. That's a huge amount of greenery removed from the top, and that should by itself cause bud back. But the branches I have remaining here at the top, I don't want any bud back on these. I don't want these to sprout. I don't want these to grow. I want the bud back to happen lower down. So what I'm gonna have to do is deadhead everything you're seeing there and here. I'm also gonna cut any branches that have a habit of growing back towards the power lines. You probably can't see it, but there's one I got my hand on back here that's doing that. So all the saw work is done, and I just have lopper work. So I'll show you once I finish the lopper work, and I should be done with the tree. Okay, I have finished the lopping, and I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but this branch going towards the sun, towards the south, I cut a lot of limbs that are on this lower portion here, and everything that was growing back this way. So I left that little bit growing towards the south, where I want it to grow. And then this large grouping here, probably can't tell in the video, but I cut about 2 feet off all the branches that were going up and everything growing back towards those power lines. So I'm gonna climb down the tree so you can see the final structure. Okay, and there you go. There's the final structure after this round of pruning on this tree. So what I want you to notice, these limbs on the low side here that are growing towards the power lines, those will be cut. I'll probably wait till it gets cooler and maybe wetter so I don't stress the tree. It is a female, I don't want it to be dead. And this lower part of the tree is actually the only part that gives any shade to this bed behind it. So I don't want to cut it too small too fast when we still have 100-degree temperatures and no rain. But the top part of the tree is what matters. So what I'm trying to do, let me get a better angle so you can see, I pointed out this branch initially. This little branch right here growing out this way. This side of the tree has nothing growing on it, it all died. So I trimmed that off, and I want to encourage this branch to get larger and bushier. So if you look, all this stuff down here is drawing sap, okay? And then if you look at the top, the only thing that's drawing sap is the green leaves you see up here. So if you don't have enough green left to draw enough sap up the tree, and the tree begins to get stressed, that part that's the smaller sap sucker is likely to die, especially on native trees. So you want to leave enough green up there to draw enough sap. So you don't want to be too aggressive at first. But I trimmed a huge amount off this part of the tree, and I didn't trim anything off this. So that should encourage it to grow. We'll see. But as it gets cooler, I'll trim this backside off and I'll deadhead everything on this low part with this, only trimming like, an inch or two off the tips. Because I don't really want to reduce the size. I have it the perfect size for the shade that I want. I just kind of want to keep it about that size. I might eventually take this branch out since it's getting too tall. Like if anything gets out of the way of being able to easily manage, I'll cut it. But for the most part, this tree has reached mostly its final structure. I may even decide to completely cut out that top. I don't know yet. But until I decide for sure, I'm going to hedge my bets and leave some stuff there in case maybe one day I want to get rid of all this green down here. Maybe I don't want any shade at all, but I still want the female tree. And then I can just push all of her foliage to the top, and then I won't have any shade, and I can keep the tree. And I can use the tree as a living trellis, which I already do for the Malabar spinach. Look at all these seeds, man. Very prolific. See the seeds forming. So there you go, a little first tree of the fall season being trimmed. And yeah, you see me holding these little hand pruners, and that's for the very light deadheading that I'll do at the tips.